Good morning. Lively crew this morning. I'm sure that some of you were out last night and had fun. I got to put my kid to bed at 9 o'clock last night, so I am well slept and excited to be here to talk to these wonderful folks on this panel. My name is Danny Royer. I'm the co-founder of Growers Insight, management consulting company focused on people, process, and technology. And I also am wearing my UC Merced hat as I'm helping build the experimental smart farm at UC Merced. Excited to talk to this group today about manufacturing and kind of how do we scale some of these awesome solutions that we're seeing. And I'm going to go ahead and just let everybody introduce themselves and talk a little bit about how they're relevant to this conversation today. So we'll start on the other end with, and I want to make sure I'm saying it right, Gaëtan.
Perfect. Hello, I'm Gaëtan from Naïo Technology. We are initially a French European company, but located in California as well for a bit more than 4 years now. And you can have a look to our robot, of course, in the booth and at the demonstration. We do robot for barnyard and vegetables, yet, and probably a bit more coming soon. Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, Jenny.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Edney. I'm the CEO of Edney Distributing. We are a wholesale distributor, and we're a 72-year-old family company. And what we do is we buy equipment and parts from suppliers from around the world. We bring them to the Midwest, and we sell them through our network of retail dealers. We are in this space because we have partnerships with ultra-precision and robotic suppliers, including Naïo and Eco Robotics. And I'm excited about the mission of this community and happy to support it.
Go ahead, Gary.
Good morning. My name is Gary Thompson. I'm the COO and a co-founder of GUSS Automation. So we develop autonomous orchard and vineyard sprayers right here in Central Valley, California. So a town called Kingsburg. Basically, it's a product that grew out of a need from our own commercial spray business. We developed it over the years and eventually decided to take it to market and start manufacturing them for sales as well. So very excited to be here with you all this morning.
Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, good morning. Sean SUNDBERG with John Deere Company. I've been with John Deere about 28 years, and this is one of the more exciting opportunities that I've had in my career is to be a part of GUSS, and we are in partnership, have been in that partnership since April of 22, and I was asked to come out and represent Deere as part of the on-site resource for that joint venture. I think that it's why I'm super excited about this is that it's good to see our company come together and recognize that there's a lot of opportunity in this space with high-value crop, and putting the resources to it to make it happen and do some things that drive that business home. So that just grateful to be a part of this, grateful to be on this panel, and super excited to see where we go.
All right, so my first question will be kind of for Gaëtan and for Gary, and I kind of, to make context for the next questions, would like to get a little bit of history about how you went from a startup or from your small business, however you started, to where you are today. So that way, as we start talking about that scale and some of those partnerships, we have some context to where you started. And I apologize for that. Go ahead, Gaëtan.
So how do we do that? One step at a time. It's a long journey, 10 years journey. But eventually, I would say the needs is here, and we had a lot of very interesting panel about this already. But farmers are waiting for new technology and automation, and it proved already to bring some value. So how do we success to go from startup to actual standard industrial company is really just showing the maturity of the technology and unlocking some ground value, some value that the farmers the growers can feel directly in the field. So this is why also it takes time, because you need a couple of months or years to prove this. But for me, it's really a traction from the market, pulling the technology, and maybe a bit more of a general context when this is said from the market point of view, from the technological point of view, and from a business point of view. We also succeed that thanks to some private venture investment in the company. So we have some venture capital, which allowed us to invest enough in R&D and industrialization, step by step again, to be able to bring this technology to the farmers. Not sure I answered your question exactly, but this is how I feel it when I look back on the journey.
All right, and Gary, how about you guys?
Yeah, so we had a little bit of an unconventional story compared to a lot of the ag tech startups in this space. Really, our background goes back to Dave Krinklaw. He founded a commercial spraying business in California back in 1982, primarily focused on trees and vines. He started that business with 2 tractors and 2 spray rigs, and spraying 20, 40 acres a day maybe. And over the years, quickly realized that if he wanted to have a successful business, he had to grow it. He had to get out onto the larger and larger farms to get the efficiency that he needed to. By the time you haul your equipment to the farm, you get set up with all the spray materials, the rec to do the job. Spraying 20 acres doesn't pay near as much as doing that same amount of work to go spray 2,000 acres, right? So over the years, he built that business up. He also started building his own spray equipment early on. He just thought that he could build it better, stronger, more robust, reliable for hard commercial usage. The thing about spraying trees and vines is most of that work is done at night. And where we are based in the middle of the Central Valley, we're sending crews 3 to 4 hours away from home most of the time. And they'll spray all night long. And if you have equipment breaking down in the middle of the night, very difficult to be a profitable business with that. So started building his own equipment and really grew that business, provided an excellent service. The growers loved it, so they kept giving him more and more acreage. Eventually, it got to the point where he could easily go buy a tractor, easily build a spray rig, but finding the third component there, the tractor driver, became the #1 challenge. And it got tougher and tougher over the years. Just getting those people to the door to want to do that kind of work is very difficult. For any of you who haven't sprayed trees or vines before, it's 2 miles an hour on a tractor, spraying chemicals at night. It's just not a very fun, glamorous job. Driving 2 miles an hour on a tractor is like watching paint dry. So very boring. These guys are going out 3 hours away from home, spraying all night, sleeping in a motel during the day, doing that over and over for a week or 2 on end, away from their family. So we just thought there ought to be a better way to do this. And it really got to the point where the business wasn't very fun for us anymore. And so Dave decided, you know what, I'm either going to innovate or get out of this business. And luckily for us, he decided to innovate and had this idea for many years of building an autonomous orchard sprayer. So went out one day in 2014, drew it on the shop floor, what he thought it should look like, and they ordered steel and started welding something together and had zero clue how to automate it, but said, you know what, we'll figure that out. One of his famous lines is, it can't be that hard. So 3 years later of banging our head against a wall, it was pretty hard, but you know what, through a lot of persistence, we got through it, got the machine working. We built more of them, put them into our fleet, started commercially spraying with them. Couple huge advantages, I think, for us is that we were able to do pretty much everything self-funded in the beginning. We didn't have to go out and find outside equity, so the founders basically were providing the funds for it, plus that spray business, getting it on its feet, and then just that 40 years of knowledge of the spray business was huge for us. Right, we could build all that knowledge into the machine, into the user interface, which was very important as well. How the supervisor out in the field watching from the computer was going to monitor up to 8 of these things at a time and still be super efficient and do the job extremely well. So that knowledge, all the what-if scenarios, all the edge case scenarios, that we all know when we're on the farm, there's going to be thousands of those scenarios that pop up. I always tell everyone that anything possible bad that could happen to a spray business has happened to our spray business like 1,000 times, right? So School of Hard Knocks, we kind of learned from that and utilize that. So fine-tuning the product in our own commercial spray business, it was a huge stepping point when we actually started spraying with them, as compared to just like letting one drive up and down a road, not spraying chemicals, right? We started calling our customers and saying, hey, can we bring this, you've probably heard about this thing, we've been under the radar a little bit, can we bring it out to your farm and start using it on your next spray? And luckily for us, all this was so new at the time, the growers were like, heck yes, bring that out, we need this kind of stuff in ag. So brought us out, let us start using them. But, they were paying us for this job, and they were going to make sure that we were doing it right, and we weren't hitting trees and, causing damage. So they held a very high bar for us, which was great in our development. So after doing that for a while, we got a lot of attention from growers that said, man, this is awesome. We have the same labor problems. Can we purchase these things from you? And at the time, it was like, well, this is just a solution we made for our own company. But after hearing it enough, we said, you know what, there's some opportunity here. So that's when we decided to get into manufacturing and selling to growers.
Fascinating. I think it's really interesting the differences between the two startups we have on the stage, and it's one of the reasons I was excited to hear from both of them. Now I kind of want to shift directions and ask Sean and Jennifer, and we'll go ahead and let Sean start with what was it that triggered the interest in GUSS for Deere? What was the push that said, hey, we want to go engage, we want to look at them?
It's a great question, and we always have our eyes and ears out for different opportunities that may or may not exist, and we determine where's our main strategic push and what do we want to capture business-wise. And I would honestly say that the solutions that exist in high-value crop, the opportunity exists for everything everybody's here doing, which is bringing technology to bear to make the life of the grower better and easier, more efficient, effective, adding dollars to the bottom line. And when we became aware of GUSS, we watched GUSS and just fell in love with the solution that is really a real impact solution that takes care of a dirty, nasty part of the business that you have to do over and over and over each year to get the yield that you want as a grower. So that's one thing, is having the solution that is actually working, and then we look at it and say, is there value that Deere can bring to the equation? And absolutely we can, as with a new manufacturer, manufacturing expertise and efficiency, if you will, supply chain management, distribution, what have you. But it really, at the end of the day, it comes back to people and the alignment that we have with Gary and with Dave and with Chase and the entire organization. The people are fantastic. We're well aligned with our approach to how we do business, which is absolutely critical from a John Deere perspective, is how. And that has worked extremely well. And then the fact that as you work to partner, is it something that works for both parties? Because a true partnership that's going to exist and thrive in the future is not something that is one-sided. So it has to be something that benefits GUSS, it has to be something that benefits Deere, and we work together to go and make life easier for the growers.
Jennifer?
Yeah, a lot of what you said really resonated with me. So the trigger for Edney Distributing to start looking at this type of practice and this type of equipment started several years ago. Reading, listening, and attending workshops and international shows. I was interested selfishly also in keeping my son in our business. He was doing robotics in high school, and I was a business mentor for his first robotics high school team. I'm not sure if any of you did the same or participated in that program, but it's quite robust. But I found Naïo and reached out to them and started learning more, attended some demos, and what impressed me most about Naïo was their progress. They've been in the business, they have been tested, and had robots that were ready for the field. It wasn't sort of a future pie-in-the-sky idea, and so I was really thrilled at how close it was to being ready to go. And so we had discussions over a couple of years and made an agreement. What Edney Distributing does is help manufacturers find a way to bring their equipment to market. So our company has expertise in marketing, logistics, and brand building. And so in the Midwest, people are starting to think about the availability of workers to get the job done, of worker safety, also being good stewards of the land, and how to have a healthy bottom line, as well as how to feed a hungry world. And these are all values, I think, that we share and concerns that we share. And the solutions that Naïo and other suppliers like GUSS can bring to market address those concerns. So one of the core values of Edney Distributing is innovation. My great-grandparents actually sold wind turbines that powered water pumps on farms, and so we've come a long way since then. But it's part of my job as a CEO to be thinking about the future, and not just what the needs are now, but what they will be in 5 and 10 years, to start making those relationships, to start bringing the equipment to be able to show and demonstrate, and be a part of changing thought and changing practice.
Thank you. This is kind of an open to everybody question, and this is really just a curiosity on my end, but how are you guys looking at, are you at a point now where you're forecasting your manufacturing and looking at demand, or is it still we get an order and we build that order? I'm just real curious to see how you're thinking about that, and then thinking about that in the future as you do continue to grow and scale. And I'll take a volunteer to go first.
Let's try to answer that one.
So I would say from a John Deere perspective, we do have a very robust forecasting and demand planning department, and expertise that we can bring to the table here. I would say in working with GUSS, we're at that transitional moment where we're scaling up, we're looking at global opportunities, and we're building that forecast out to say, that 12, 24-month window to say, okay, here's what we have to do, here's where we think we're going, to make sure that we bring in the supply and we can build to meet that demand. So I think it's made that transition from we're taking the orders and building it to saying, here's what we're going to do, and we believe the demand is there, and then we're going to build to that.
Okay. Gaëtan, did you want to?
Yeah, we need to anticipate production, of course. It's important, mainly because of the lead time as well, and if we want to be ready when the growers need the robots, you need to anticipate. And it's also to be able to do that at our scale with a bit of less experience than John Deere, just 10 years, not 200 years. But to succeed to do this properly, this is where we need the support from our partners and local partners who know the market, who know the growers, and so we work with them to schedule some commercial plan, like participating to some fairs, exhibition, like the FIRA, local fairs, to organize a demonstration tour. But at the end of the day, this is Jennifer and her team who know the potential customers and who are able to do, okay, for next year, I think we can have this, and this option, so we can anticipate this amount of sales, and we collect all this from all of our dealer network, and based on that, we can anticipate the production. It's an interesting job.
So a little follow-up on that. In terms of regionality right now for your guys' organizations, are you seeing, like, I've heard of GUSS being up in the PNW, and are you seeing any, and then you're in the Midwest, is there a regionality? Are you seeing different areas that are advancing faster in adoption and that you're gaining more traction? And again, I'm just curious if you are seeing those things in terms of, is the Salinas Valley really where it's at, or is it over in the Central Valley? Is it up in the Pacific Northwest? Is it somewhere in the Midwest that I'm not aware of? What are you guys seeing in terms of just traction? And Jennifer, I'm going to let you start.
Well, we are a regional company.
Right,
so,
right.
We're working hard to bring the technology to Midwest. Of course, here on the West Coast, there is a longer growing season and a concentration of thought and manufacturers. So really, the tone is being set here. And it's my job to bring that information to growers and dealers in the Midwest. And going back to the previous question, one of the values that distribution can bring to manufacturer is smoothing out some of that risk curve. So we purchase the inventory and we purchase the parts. And it will be our goal, we're walking before we run, but eventually our dealer network will also have inventory of parts and whole goods. So that makes sure that the equipment and the repair parts are close to the growers, so we can keep our promises that we're making to keep growers uptime high, and also make sure that our anticipation of what the need will be is able to be to match the demand. So when we all take a little bit of the risk, we've got more equipment out, more predictable buying patterns, and it's a partnership.
Good point. Yeah, I would say the regionality to me is very interesting. When we started doing sales, we kind of figured, you know what, California is the worst when it comes to labor challenges, right? The shortage of labor, the regulations, just all of it, the litigation that goes along with the labor force in this state. Well, what really shocked me, and we figured that would be our number one selling point, right? What really shocked me was very early on after we started putting ourselves out to the world, getting countries like South Africa reaching out. I mean, one after the next, I kept getting these emails and calls from South Africa, and after a while, I'm asking these guys, I'm like, don't you guys have like the cheapest labor on earth? Like, why does this, how does this pencil out for you? And they say, we do have very cheap labor, but it's still a huge challenge for us. The reliability, just the quality of work from the labor. So what we learned, first off, there's labor challenges all over the world. I mean, Australia, for example, the country's the size of the continental United States, and they have a very small population compared to the US. And most of that population is not near the farms, right? So, and looking at the workforce that they use, the backpackers that come in and out of the farms, might be there for a few months and then not really want to be there. They're just there to work and get a travel visa, and then they're gone. And these poor farmers are having to retrain all over again. So just looking at all these different regions, Mexico, for example, you get lots of interest from Mexico, and each region might have their own pain points, right? Either there's no labor or there's a lot of labor, but the quality's not there, the reliability. Or maybe it's a precision thing, the ag tech aspect. There's some regions that are just super high and just impress us to no end. It's like, wow, a lot of these farms in South Africa have taken precision ag and technology way farther than we see even here in California. I mean, it's really impressive. So just all over the world, the demand is there. We also always have to remind ourselves that, at least in our space, trees and vines, California is the place. I mean, by far the most acreage, and luckily for us, it's in our backyard. So we have to be a little careful about how much time and effort we spend in some regional markets where there's some definite, possibility, some definite business there, but we always kind of stay focused on our bread and butter, our core here in California.
Sean, any thoughts on regionality, or you just echo what Gary has to say?
I would definitely echo it. We've traveled globally evaluating opportunities. There is no place like the Central Valley, Salinas and California in general, in terms of the sheer acreage of trees and vines. So embedded crops and everything that goes along with that. So this is definitely where we believe we're situated perfectly to be here. I would also say that from a John Deere perspective, having global representation and distribution, that as we look at those markets and decide that, hey, the opportunity really exists there, growers, like Gary said, have the same types of pressures, if not more so, that surprised us at first, but they are very real, that we have the ability to help expedite the solution to get it there, and to help growers around the world benefit from GUSS.
Shifting kind of back towards this workforce conversation or those pieces, I had a conversation on Tuesday, or a number of conversations on Tuesday, about the Farm NG, the little Amiga, and small growers, and how that unit can best support small growers. And there were ideas on training the growers themselves, and then there were ideas on, instead, maybe we should have a service model where we find young people who are coming out and building small businesses, and kind of want to pose that question to this group of, do you see your solution as something that's built to go be for a farm and a farmer is going to use, or do you see your solution as something that there's going to be a service that's utilizing it and utilizing the tool and scaling the tool for you? So a custom farming company versus a large farming company that owns a lot of land. Just curious what your guys' thoughts are. And I'll go ahead and start with Naïo, and Gaëtan, you can go ahead.
I think because this question is about the business model or the go-to-market model, and both will coexist, of course, the same way it already coexists. So I don't believe about a full services business model or only sell robots. It's really about optimizing the access to the technology for the growers. So first you need to have the good use case, so the growers can make money, and the robot manufacturer can make money, dealer can make money. And once you have the good use case, after you can optimize locally, but it's more, for me, to answer this question, is more about local optimization related to how the farming ecosystem is organized. Do you have a huge concentration of similar farmers, or are they spread out in the countryside? So depending on the local organization, you can optimize this business model. But definitely both will coexist.
Jennifer, for the Midwest, what do you think for that region and this question of service or grower or a hybrid of both, which will probably be what it is, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I strongly agree with what Gaëtan just said. I think it's a both and. Right now, we do have a model we can look to, and in the Midwest, there are custom applicators for fertilizer and chemical, and people own their own equipment and do the work themselves. So I think both approaches can coexist, and it might be interesting to see how the dealers use the technology. They might choose to provide the service or offer rentals of the equipment. So that chapter is yet to be written, but I think it is both and.
Yeah, for us, our machine really fills both needs very well. I mean, obviously, as I told you, we were the commercial spray business that started it and needed it for our company. Mm-hmm. And when we decided to start selling them, other commercial spray businesses came to us and said, "Wait, you guys are going to actually sell these?" And we said, "Well, yeah, that's what we're doing." And at the time, and even today to a degree, a lot of those commercial spray companies happen to be competitors to our commercial spray business. So we had to have a gentleman's agreement that, like, hey, look, we'll sell you these machines, but don't come and take acreage away from our spray business over here. And it worked out great. I mean, these guys are stand-up guys, so did this, and it was just a dream come true to them. I mean, that's all they do. They spray every day, right? So now they completely made their workforce way more efficient, got rid of a lot of the headaches that they were having in their company. Soon after the first few commercial sprayers bought machines from us, that's when the growers came. And the growers a lot of times keep an eye on what the commercial guys are doing, right? Because whereas a grower spraying is a portion of their everyday life. I mean, it's a very big portion in trees and vines, but it's still a part of everything that they do in their life. To a commercial applicator, that's all they do. So growers kind of keep an eye on that, and then they saw some success and they started jumping in. And now I would say, honestly, most of our customers are growers, a higher majority of them. It is interesting because there's a lot of the same pain points that the commercial applicators have with the labor, but an even higher advantage, I think, to the growers is the precision aspect. You know, when it's their farm, their trees, they want to know when they go spray that the machine is going 2 miles an hour, not 2 while you're watching it, and then you drive away, and then your guy grabs another gear and he's going 4.5, right? They want to know the machine's going the correct speed. They're spending a ton of money on these chemicals. They want to know the sprayers aren't skipping rows on accident. They're not double spraying rows on accident. They're not going to spray this field and then, you know, forget to turn and they drive into the next field and spray the neighbor's farm and, you know, the house that's having a party in their backyard. And everything I say is just stuff that's happened to our spray business again. So with these machines, I mean, they're so precise, you know, and the growers really latch on to that. We always have this conversation of ROI with our customers on these machines. And it's real easy to pencil out ROI based on labor savings, an increase in efficiency, because the machines just go. I mean, they just spray. They don't need to stop for breaks. They don't need to stop for bathroom, for meals. They don't get on the phone to call their girlfriend, that kind of stuff. They just spray. But the other big aspect of it is the precision. And that's something that I honestly can't put into an ROI sheet for a grower. But we have that conversation. It's like, well, hey, look, now, you know you've caught your guys spraying in a poor manner many, many times, right? Well, yes, of course. Okay, well, now this machine's going to do it exactly how you want it. What do you think that's going to do to your yield and your quality of your crop, which, you know, there's a lot of premium that goes into quality. Over, you know, 1,000 acres, 10,000 acres, or whatever that you guys farm. And can we call it a, you know, 3% increase or 5%? I don't know. That seems pretty conservative. And they say, yeah. And you do the math on that, and it's like, okay, well, that just paid for 2 or 3 of these sprayers right here. You know, so pretty exciting to see that. Lastly, the safety aspect. The growers especially really look at the safety aspect of getting their employees out of that spray environment, putting them in a safe environment to supervise the autonomous sprayers instead of being on the equipment. Big, especially, you know, the accidental exposure that can happen with the chemicals, as well as just all the regular tractor accidents that unfortunately happen on farms every year.
Thank you. I have all sorts of things spinning in my head from that, but I want to stay on track. I do want to put on my grower hat a little bit right now and think about operations and challenges when you're in operations and how you guys are thinking about support models. You mentioned parts. What about when things break that I don't know how to fix, or there's a hardware software integration on the piece of equipment that, you know, I need someone physically there that has the technical expertise. I could solve the software problem remotely, but man, I need someone to put the blue wire in the right place. How are you guys thinking about those components in the service side of your businesses? And I'm going to reverse and let Sean and Gary start, and then we'll slide over to Naïo.
So I would say that it is a absolutely critical thing to make sure that you're providing the support that the grower needs, especially in the spray side of the business. And the first thing that Gary would always tell me as we got into developing our partnership is that you cannot be down. If you're down, your business is gonna suffer. And we spray at night, so we have to make sure that we're providing that level of support and service. And initially, as you started getting a machine population out there, that's also one thing that from a Deere perspective we fell in love with, is that everybody raved about the level of customer support that GUSS provided. Right, so they already had that business model in place, and they understood it because they come from a agricultural background, and they are already doing that business. They understand how critical it is. And so we were able to take that and say, okay, now as we go through this with John Deere dealerships, the dealer is going to be that first line of defense. We're going to provide the training and the support direct to them. They're going to, because they take care of all kinds of equipment, and whether it's GUSS, whether it's combines, forage harvesting, or whatnot. But we drive that through to the dealer. The dealers are some of the very best in the world, if not the best in the world, at taking care of our growers. And then as they mature and become more experienced with GUSS, they'll be able to provide that. But we will have that connectivity between them to the GUSS customer support team to make sure that as we experience any kind of malfunction or breakdown or anything on part that needs to be replaced, that they're there, Johnny on the spot, ready to go. And that's where, from parts distribution standpoint, from John Deere, that's our bread and butter. That's what we do. We provide the parts. We keep the dealers set up and ready to support all the growers, and that's allows us to scale this business much more efficiently and rapidly.
Gary, any thoughts?
Yeah,
Dad?
so when we started selling our machines in the beginning, we were selling direct. We sold the first handful of them direct in California. We had a couple service trucks. We were supporting them. Early on, we had customers from Australia and Florida approaching us and saying, we need these things now. And we said, well, we're just kind of getting started. We're going to start here in California, and then maybe in a year or two, we'll look at your guys' regions. And they say, no, you don't understand. We need them now, like yesterday, kind of now. And so got to the point where we're like, okay, we're not going to say no, but we need to figure some stuff out here. We were very apprehensive, I'll be honest, in the beginning about utilizing a dealer network. But looking at Florida, looking at Australia, it was like, okay, we're not going to go set up a GUSS automation in those areas and service trucks and mechanics and all that. Let's really look at the dealer model. Talk to a couple of those dealers over there, basically who our growers were recommending, who they wanted to be their dealer. And so we did. We had those conversations. And the one thing that we really learned, because we've all had a very extensive background in ag and dealing with tractor dealerships, and a lot of frustrating times, sometimes when your corn planter's down and they send the lube guy out to try to fix it because the guy that doesn't, there's just not the expertise there. And so in our heads, we're like, how are they going to run an autonomous sprayer? But what we really saw early on is these dealers were all evolving and adapting because there's so much technology on the tractors that they were selling, the GPS equipment, all the precision ag stuff, that they started hiring and training precision ag teams. And that was like, okay, we've got something here. We can definitely train these people to really take GUSS and run with it. So really got us going remotely, and then after selling direct in California for a while, we're like, you know what, this is working great. Why don't we do the dealer model here in our backyard and stop going direct? Let the dealerships do what they do best, sell and service, and we'll do what we do best, innovating and manufacturing. And so we started signing up dealers there in California as well. Just so happened to be that the John Deere dealers in all our markets were the dealers that all of our customers said, we want them, we want them. It was always the green dealer. So we started signing up Deere dealers, and it was working great. And then a little bit later, the John Deere partnership came about, and we formed that. And now moving forward, it's exclusively Deere dealers. So for the parts distribution, it's huge. I mean, the dealer network John Deere has is the best in the world. So we're really excited about that, because us as GUSS Automation, that's not our expertise, and that's why this partnership works so well, to bring Deere to the table and have them help us on that side, and especially when we're talking about other countries, other regions of the world.
Jennifer and Gaëtan?
Yeah, my answer is very similar. Customer service excellence is another one of our company's core values, and there's no more important work than we do than stand behind the equipment that we sell. It will be really easy to lose trust quickly. So especially as we are just in the beginning of rolling those machines out, we need to make sure we get service right. So we are using our dealer network as well to develop those relationships and also deliver the service. Most of the dealers that we're choosing to market this equipment to are precision dealers. Our company is dealer agnostic, so we have many John Deere dealers who are our customers, but all of the dealers could purchase Naïo or Eco Robotics through us. So in addition to training the dealer support people and their technicians, who are very talented and knowledgeable, at the distributor level, we also have product support specialists and precision and autonomy specialists, so we can be that second layer of support behind and to back up the dealer support that they can offer the growers. And then behind us are the suppliers. So the team at Naïo is also available to help us. They have people here that are US based and also people in France that are available to help. So as there are problems with equipment or software or updates that need to be done, we've got the access to the repair parts, to the talent to do the troubleshooting, and also to the support that can help with the escalated concerns. We all know that this technology is perfect. No equipment gets it right 100% of the time, but how we respond matters. And so I'm encouraged as a community, the focus that we have on making sure growers are supported.
And I would just add a lot of the insight. I would just add the fact that when you speak about support, so of course we need the local dealers network to be able to support the growers, but it's not just about support, maintenance, repairs, it's also a lot about training. And yes, you can avoid a lot of problems with a proper training, and sometimes it's not really a failure from the machine, it can be just a misuse. So training is very important, and it brings also the confidence to the growers at the beginning. And don't take me wrong, it's super easy to use a robot. If you know how to use a smartphone, you can use a robot, but still you need a first training and you need to be confident about it. And to bring this to the first customers, you need the support of the local dealers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really important to keep the technology company involved with the distribution as well. I mean, it's definitely not a hands-off, oh, the dealers are doing it now. No. You know, we get to go just, you know, focus on something else. I mean, the training is huge, right? The training, the support. We do a 24-hour a day, 365 days of the year support line at GUSS Automation. So any dealer has an issue, customer has an issue, they can call, you know, get us on the phone, remote into their machine from our computers, solve problems. Just given our background in the spray business, I have a background in the dairy business, which anybody in here that's ever been involved in the dairy business, you know what it's like to have a milk pump go down at 2 a.m. and the cows are not happy with you, or the feed truck down. Yeah. You got to get it going. So.
Triggering flashbacks from my college days working at Cal Poly Dairy. We've got about 2.5, 3 minutes left if we want to entertain any questions. You know, if not, I can come up with a canned question. But oh, here we go. Perfect.
One question I do have is, and it wasn't touched upon too much, is what, as an early startup, and those that have already kind of progressed out, kind of like GUSS, with parts that during the design process, how does one actually plan out and mitigate the risk for diminished manufacturing of availability of parts from a supplier perspective? Say if you got a supplier, sub-supplier, that supplier, say, went out of business, but it was a key component within your supply chain. What has been some of the processes or mitigation processes you guys have instilled within your companies?
That's an interesting question. So we started, we've been, as I mentioned, we've been fabricating building sprayers for 30 plus years. we started manufacturing in 2019. And manufacturing is a different animal than fabricating. I mean, there's schedules, there's the ordering of the parts, everything has to be extremely timely. Well, we all know what happened early 2020. So, I mean, that hammer got dropped on us, right after we got kind of started. And one after the next, we started getting calls from our suppliers saying, we don't know if we can get you your parts that you have ordered. So that's pretty much all we've known from manufacturing is this mess that we've been in. Luckily, it's starting to improve. So we've really had to go to double and triple sourcing components wherever we can. It's not always easy, but instead of having one supplier or one part, one product, you got to have 2 or 3 there. And it's a challenge, it really is. But luckily, there are some options out there. And we really had to shore up our purchasing department. And I mean, you search every crack of the earth to try to find parts when you're going through that kind of thing. So, but luckily, you just work through it. And some parts have to pass engineering, and some parts are direct replacements. It's easy. The ones that have to pass engineering, it's a very important process to prove it out, get it out in the field and start running it before you say, okay, it's ready for mainline.
Jennifer, Gaëtan, any response to that?
No, similar answer, and just with a bit of more inventory on the spare parts, so you can have enough visibility to find a solution. Problem will occur, just need to keep some safety margin to have the time to find a solution.
Yes, absolutely. As a distributor, we help make sure that there are enough parts for the dealers and the growers. And so we have been ordering extra inventory and ordering out further in advance just to make sure that we have a cushion. And so the growers can have the parts they need when they need it. But if you notice, I have more gray hair than I had last year. It's because we have a record amount of inventory, so we're here to help.
Well, thank you very much for being here this morning to everybody on the panel and then that showed up here too. So thank you all. We're all done.